We just made $1 million. But wait, where did it all go?
Shoot.
Cost of goods. That's where it went. On this episode of the Valor Coffee Podcast, we discuss how much money we've made this year, how much we've spent on cost of goods and labor, some nitty gritty expenses of a coffee company who's been around for a few years. So if you're looking to start a coffee shop, buckle in because this will be a journey. Before we get to the program, we do have a special sponsor, Localized Growth.
That's right. We wouldn't be sitting here today without Localized Growth. Honestly, Kent has played a large part in the Valor story, and we're forever grateful.
Yeah, that's true.
Jokes aside, guys, let's take it seriously. So go on over to localizedgrowth.com/Valor. Why would you go there?
What even is localized, really?
If you're thinking about why would I go to this website that you just asked, SEO, baby. It's not that hard. SEO, search engine optimization. Your website is such a vital part of your business, whether that you're doing catering, roasting, cafe. You don't have to be in coffee for crying out loud. I don't care what you do. Having good SEO, having people be able to reach your website easily is huge. That's where Localized Growth comes in.
And Localized features a special Valor website kickstart discount if you go to localizedgrowth.com/Valor. Tell them Ethan sent you, right? All right, that's enough. Here's the program.
Calvin Harris or David Guetta? That's
Calvin Harris.
It's got to be Calvin.
Right. Such a good lead-in question, though.
Yeah, it really is. Hey, comment below Calvin Harris or David Guetta.
Or David Archuleta.
American Idol throwback, man. David Archuleta.
What are we even doing, guys?
America's sweetheart.
Happy 4th. Happy late 4th.
Happy 4th.
I guess when this comes out, it'll be like a long time after the 4th.
It'll be close to my birthday.
And it's also a long time after the 4th. It'll be closer to my birthday.
Hey, yeah,
it'll be closer to all of our birthdays.
Very close to your half birthday. So seriously, happy half birthday.
Thank you so much.
And if
Big
I don't know if you have
plans.
anything out like a GoFundMe or Indiegogo, just to
I just got my Venmo in my bio.
Just put it
on
on,
Instagram.
like, you know how like bachelorette trips, they like put the writing on the windows. Like,
it's my half birthday.
buy her a shot.
How much money would it take for you to like write that on your car? It's my half birthday.
And then
your
how?
Venmo.
Yeah, and then think of the savings too of like people actually giving you money.
Let me say this. And honestly, there might be people listening to this podcast who I'm directly calling out. And sorry, not sorry.
Wow.
Okay.
They could deserve it. Who knows?
Because you deserve it. And if you do this on your Instagram story, you deserve it as well. People who just like drop their Venmo in their Instagram story, just like had a bad day, cheer me up.
Yeah.
It's just, I think that is the height of cringe. And you should stop.
That's super cringe.
Yeah.
I think we'd all be better off if you stopped that, including yourself.
Ethan.
Okay.
You know, maybe a tragedy happens, GoFundMe, different.
Bro, I'm gonna get on Ethan Rivers 777.
Oh, that's so perfect.
I'm gonna drop a Venmo, just like an Ethan Rivers. I'm gonna make an Ethan Rivers 777 Venmo. Put it in his story and take the money from it.
Yeah.
But spend it on something cool.
Like a hoverboard. Dude,
Yeah.
have you seen those things?
Like a verified account for Ethan River 777.
Yes.
Blue check.
If you're wondering, I do run Ethan's Instagram.
And if you're wondering, this is a coffee podcast that
Yes,
you are
it is.
listening to. You
Yes,
didn't
it is.
click on the wrong video.
Oh,
and
boy.
we have a really awesome topic today that I'm so excited to jump into. How about you guys?
Same. And first, I would like to know what coffee you are drinking.
Okay, so that's a great question. Thank you for asking it. Today we are drinking Ethiopia Idido
Ooh.
Washed.
washed.
Mm.
Is that available?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pink box?
Do we want to be? Let's give the story of how this coffee came to our menu, huh?
Okay.
Man, which one of us is going to tell it?
Sometimes you order awesome coffees for a seasonal blend, and then you roast them, and then you have a little bit left over. What do you do with that coffee?
Cold brew. Oh. I'm joking, guys.
And I mean, it's still in its raw form left over, just to be clear.
Of course.
But we I think that's the beauty to using really amazing coffees within a blend rather than using 80s and 81s, because this coffee was like such an easy candidate to be like, we have some left over. Let's just like throw it on the menu as it's single origin, and it's good.
Yeah.
I love getting, this is, I know it's a little niche for some, but when it's a washed coffee, but there's berry flavor.
Oh, totally.
So there's this nice, really like dried blueberry sweetness. And I just, man.
You said dehydrated blueberry.
Sorry. Yeah.
Or blueberry raisin.
Deep flash fried blueberry.
Yeah.
I'm going to top this thing off.
So if you want to buy this coffee, then you can shop our collection of coffees at the link in our bio.
For a very limited time.
And while you're down there, like and subscribe if you enjoy this podcast. Hey, Ethan, welcome back.
Thank you guys.
Day 3 of being back from leave.
I'd like to think I was never off because I was thinking about work from time to time.
Wow.
So I'm going to take another month off.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good
Like
point.
off?
Well, this one we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see how much I think about work. And if I need to take another month off,
Okay.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah. But hey, thank you for having me back. Seriously. I didn't know if it was going to be like, you know how Kirk Cousins was worried about getting benched because someone might take his spot,
Yeah.
i.e. Michael Penix
Junior.
Jr. Yeah. Not senior, probably. He's, but when you step away from the plate for a while, I didn't know if you guys were going to sub me out and I kind of lose my spot.
Well, we tried.
Right. Hanesco,
Everyone else is busy.
poor boy.
Yeah. So I think that I want to talk to you about some stuff.
Right. You were busy while I was away.
And that stuff is the numbers. How much of your coming back is it like you're hearing ideas that me and Ross conceptualize while you're gone and you're just like, wait, what? Has that happened at all? That'll probably happen like we haven't had a meeting since you've been back. So.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow I'll be like, what?
Like,
you did what? You bought what? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But no, I just trust you guys like so much. And I know you guys have really good ideas.
Wow. What's my best idea ever, you think?
Yeah, prove it.
Custom to-go cups. Custom printed to-go cups.
That's such a
For ice cups.
such a not unique idea.
The
Yeah,
camo
well,
hat.
it was your best, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Just like custom printed cups.
What was my best
idea?
Did you have the idea to do cold brew, like kegging stuff?
I don't know.
That was
Okay, well, so now you have two really good ideas.
yeah, sorry. It was actually Roy, but
Okay, before we jump into it, if you're watching on the video, we are all wearing Valor merch because we choose to wear it. Yes, Ross, you're wearing Valor merch.
Okay.
I was thinking about that this morning.
And I'm just really grateful about that we like the stuff. B, do you know if this has sold at any point to anybody?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I really like the postcard tee.
Mm-hmm.
The end. And I wear it a lot.
Meet me at Valor. It's nice.
So if you're watching this video, it's the print is down here on the side, on the rib. It's a rib print.
Rib print. We hit the rib button.
And it's a great shirt. How's that? I bet the camo hat's got to be doing well.
Oh yeah, it flies. It flies. The best part about this hat is that so it has a latch strap,
Okay.
as hats do. I guess that's what you call this, Grayson.
Yeah, zoom in further, more.
But the amazing thing about it is that not only does it have that, because usually the latch strap is connected to a static, like stitched in piece. It's elastic. So it stretches in the way that a fitted hat would, just like a little bit.
I like that.
So you can go a little tight.
Yeah,
Let the stretch.
exactly. I've never had a hat quite like it, and it's just really comfortable. It's hard not to wear.
And it can be yours for $50. We're running a bonus.
It can be yours for $20-something.
Our merch, doggone it. I'm sorry that this is just the Valor plug cast today, but our merch is stupid affordable.
Yeah.
You ever go to cool places and you're like, oh, they have a nice shirt, $65.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To be fair, we're climbing in some areas, but we still keep the affordable stuff.
No, it's great to have a range, but like,
Yeah.
I love that we can sell a hoodie for, $40, $60.
Oh,
but
yeah.
people are selling hoodies for like $150
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
that are worse quality. Sorry, not sorry. This is the Valor SaaScast.
Yeah, and if you
the
put your
podcast.
Venmo link in your bio, then
And if you do both of those things, oh, geez.
you're done.
But hey, hats off to someone who can sell a $150 hoodie because they're probably what we're about to get into is probably looking a little better for them than for us.
True. Maybe we should do that. What do you think? Okay. We are going to spit our numbers for 2025 year to date for our cafes straight up. Because who cares, right?
It's July, so we're a little past quarter two.
Yeah, I'm doing first 6 months. So January to end of June. And this is really top of mind because we are more on top of our cost of goods sold and inventory than we've ever been. So we have better numbers to more accurately reflect our COGS. And we're getting even better at it because I think, so like if we did this again at the end of the year, which maybe we will, I don't know, smash like if you want us to, then we would probably be able to more accurately reflect some of the waste categories. I'm just going to give lump sum of like COGS that includes waste. But that's the goal I would say goal for first half is like track inventory better, track more accurately COGS. And I'll go into that in a minute, but goal for half two is like do those two things, COGS, inventory, but then also track waste really specifically to where we can segment it out by category to see areas that we need to improve. So with tracking COGS, the way we have done it up until this year for the cafes specifically are make the purchase and then book the transaction in QuickBooks as cost of goods sold. Yes?
That sounds what probably most people would do, right?
I can guarantee you that 95% of the people listening to this podcast who do their books do that.
Like I bought a gallon of milk.
Yep.
So that's going to go to the coffee.
Exactly. And in principle, there's nothing wrong with that because you're working with perishable goods. So it's like if your usage is in a short window, you can justify doing that. Where that becomes tricky is if you want to get super granular, right?
Ooh,
Granular.
micro.
If you want to really drill down
Drill down.
into your numbers and get a really accurate reflection of like what was actually used in a given month, then you start tracking every month at month's end, you do an inventory count after close on the last day. And then you do that every month. And then your cost of goods sold would then be, man, why do I always struggle with this? So through the month, you do inventory, beginning of month inventory, plus purchases, minus end of month inventory. And that is your cost of goods sold. Does that make sense?
Beginning of month inventory.
Yeah.
From basically from the previous month.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
And then you add up the transactions that were your purchases.
Yes.
And then at the end of that month,
You count again,
and you
subtract
from that sum.
Yes, exactly.
Makes sense.
And how does the point of sale transactions fit into that? Is that not a part of it?
It does. I would say that, so we use a software called MarketMan. And I would say that has been my biggest disappointment with MarketMan is that I thought all of their COGS numbers were going to be transactional reflections, but it's not. Their COGS reports are just that equation that I gave. Where we will find where the transaction comes into play is this different report that what I was saying about that's our improvement for the next half of the year, that report isn't really ready to be used with the way we were doing some things before. You have an actual versus theoretical report,
Right.
which is where you would find the theoretical numbers reference your items sold. And then that number and the actual number, the difference would be waste or a discrepancy.
Called like is that the variance
Exactly. Yeah.
within Market Man? Yeah.
Yep. So, well, yes.
Yes and no.
It is. So that number will be your waste number, and that's where that stuff comes in. So you take your COGS, and then you have your COGS number, and then you basically remove waste from that number, and then you segment those two out. That's our second half of the year goal, because it's like getting set up with a system like this is very intensive and hard.
Yes.
As we've seen, it's taken us one of the most massive projects we've done in our company to even get to where we are currently. So it's like you gotta one step at a time.
Yeah, and we're coming to you guys as works in progress right now about it. You know, so I bet a end of the year report or check-in would probably be good too, to see how much it helped us.
Yeah. So we've been tracking our costs this way at our roastery for a pretty long time, because we work with a lot of items that last for longer than like a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of perishable items, but like, you know, you can have green coffee for months. So it's like to book it when you purchase it would be very non-reflective of what's actually going on in your business. Because it's like, imagine in January, you top lined, let's just say $100,000.
Sick.
But you purchased a container of coffee. It would be like, okay, so you top lined $100,000 and your cost of goods sold was whatever, $150,000, $200,000. What, you know.
So you had a really bad month on paper if that's how you did it.
But that's not the actuality. If you actually took your beginning of month inventory plus purchases minus end of month inventory, you would have the actual number of things that left your store or your roastery.
You would have so much actual inventory that it would subtract a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tracking this way is way harder. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you are listening to this and you're like, I should start doing that, just understand that like there's so many bumps in the road, because not only do you have to have your inventory stuff right, all of your transactions in QuickBooks have to be booked to the right inventory accounts, or it throws those out of balance. So you have to have a robust, like, you have to have multiple inventory accounts in QuickBooks, like green coffee inventory, packaging inventory, all these. They all have to get booked to the right account, which means that you have to have a good expense reporting system between either yourself or your managers, purchasers.
Mm-hmm.
It's complicated.
Yeah, and maybe the devil's advocate to all this would be like, well, can't you just run a really tight operation and so there's not waste? And you're like,
that's the goal of doing this.
Well, if you can't track it, then how do you really know?
Exactly.
Ethan.
Hey, I was just saying I was going DA on it. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So zero waste is impossible, obviously.
Hey, that's our new vision. The zero waste coffee shop.
And our goal with this, especially having two cafes, is to compare what's going on at each one.
Sure.
And then also to, whenever we get those waste numbers, to be like, you know, some amount, you see them and then you set your KPIs and you're like, this is what we want to hit in terms of, this is what we think is acceptable in terms of milk waste. This is acceptable in terms of food waste.
Well, yeah, and if we go macro for a second, what we talk about a lot is how a coffee shop is not a high profit business. And so I'm sure, you know, I think when we were getting into business, at least in coffee shops, we always just heard like, yeah, 33% to cost of goods sold, 33% to labor, and 33% to other stuff. I don't even remember. I don't know
Everything else.
I don't know how that number breaks down. But say you do have 10% waste on your 33% COGS, or 35 or 40 or 45. That's like a big shift into any money that's going to be left over.
Yeah. So we'll go on a funny little side quest here. We had some discourse between me and a discourse sounds so bad, but it was a conversation.
A dialogue?
A dialogue. Yeah. Between me and a community user. If you're not on our community, link in bio, community.valor.coffee. So he was saying, do you think that the guys, us, say that you can't make money in coffee because they have 3 people who own a business? To which I responded, yeah, that is one of the reasons, and we say that all the time. It's like, but with that being said, if you have a single cafe, don't have multiple owners, by all means possible. But he was referencing like that he's seen some people online talking about how they, as a single person business, can do 25 to 30% bottom line. And I was like, this is the point that I'm making. It's like you have to jump through hurdles in this business, or like you have to keep it to a single person owner business to hit 25 to 30% bottom line. When you look at other industries where it's like they all have multiple owners, or freaking IPOs, like we're talking about like software as a service, it's because their COGS are 2%. So like their gross profit is like, or even just call it 10%. If their gross profit's 90%, we're going to be seeing here that like our gross profit is nowhere close to that. So we have, after we make the product and pay the people to make the product, there isn't a lot of money to do everything else. And then especially to take home. So anyways, let's look at the numbers.
Let's dive in.
We'll start with income. Where do you want to hear first? Which location?
Dunwoody.
Dunwoody. January 1st to June 30th, 2025. Dunwoody did net sales, so after discounts, $528,951 for 6 months.
Nice.
Any questions on that?
Just in case people don't know, that was our second cafe we opened in 2023.
Yes.
And it's 2,000 square feet, right?
Yeah.
Bunch of seats, central bar in the middle. You can check it out on our Instagram, but it's in like a neighborhood area, lots of cars, lots of parking, just giving people an idea of what it's like.
I think most people would probably know this, but we mostly do coffee, and we just have a pastry provider bring in pastries.
So that's $291K of coffee, $292K of coffee, and $104K of food.
It's like more or less a 3-to-1 of like coffee to food.
Exactly.
Sales.
52,389 units of coffee, 18,000. That doesn't even include draft. Sorry. So if you include draft in that and seasonal menu, oh my gosh.
Draft meaning like we have kegged beverages.
What's 292 plus 30 plus 33?
153.
292.
155. 292. So 355.
Yeah, so 355,000 of coffee actually.
Live math is a little harder. Okay.
We have some categories here of like, so 52,389 units of coffee and tea, which is like espresso drip drinks. Draft, which is like keg drinks, was 5,162 units. And then seasonal menu was 5,228 units.
Units is dollars?
Items,
yeah. And then like packaged beverages, 1,063 units for $4,236. And then retail boxes, I mean, yeah, we did 57,000 in retail boxes. So that's a nice bump from those. Okay, let's go to Alpharetta really quick. so we can move on to COGS because that's where things get interesting. Alpharetta did $534,373.
Versus what was that other number again, Dunwoody?
528.
528. Basically 529.
And Alpharetta is our first cafe, opened in 2019. It's much smaller.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like last year Dunwoody overtook Alpharetta in sales, and then this year to date, Alpharetta has overtaken Dunwoody in sales again. And I think a part of that is like the dynamics of how the year flows, because I feel like Dunwoody, as we come out of summer and into the fall, stands a pretty good chance of
catching back up. That's a good point.
Because last year's Q4 in Dunwoody was like pretty hot.
Yeah, and I would assume a big part of that is the bigger space.
Yeah,
people know they can go and sit inside, or go at least and just like hang out inside the space. But honestly, in those busy Alpharetta times, there's sometimes not even gosh darn standing room.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah,
it's true.
But not for you if you're thinking about going.
Yeah, it would be perfect.
Maybe this will be the year we finally get heaters outside.
Wow.
Okay.
And then category sales in Dunwoody or in Alpharetta, much less food. So coffee and tea, Alpharetta did 319 plus 34 plus 31.
353 plus 380, 384?
Sure. So that's what they did in coffee and tea. And then in food,
which is like 30,000 more units. You're doing units or
no? That was
dollars.
Money.
Okay, so that was like $30,000 than Dunwoody.
Yeah, and then in food they did just under 100.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
For 17,600.
Oh well, no, that's only what $5,000.
But then in
less.
retail boxes they only did 46,000.
It's like 11 less,
which is a really good proof of concept for our shelf for retail boxes in Dunwoody being so in the line. Halfway through this year, we installed a better display for our retail boxes in Alpharetta, and I wonder how that has upticked from that. Because I honestly think, this is actually a good point. Okay,
go ahead.
I think some of Alpharetta retaking Dunwoody is that Alpharetta is now selling way more retail than it used to, compared to last year. A big push when we first opened, Dunwoody sold like no retail coffee. And it was because our retail display was far away from the point of sale. So,
and we were new in town. There's probably other things.
So we were like, let's have our friend Zion make this gorgeous like retail box display table. And he did. And then it was like, bang, like Dunwoody's crushing Alpharetta in retail box sales. And so I think that was part of Dunwoody doing this. And then it's like Alpharetta, we put better retail display there. And it's like, okay. So very interesting. Okay. So those are the top line sales. Let's look at the COGS, right?
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. So Alpharetta 534, Dunwoody 528, top line. Alpharetta total cost of goods sold $205,790.
$205,000
for 38.51%.
Okay. I can stomach that.
And that's including all types of good, right?
Yeah, if we were to segment it out, Alpharetta coffee only, coffee and tea was 27.23%.
Oh, nice.
Except draft was higher. Like draft was 51% because we buy our draft goods from our roastery.
As a wholesale item almost.
Yeah, like retail coffee is 60% COGS.
Yeah.
That's kind of a funny thing if you boost the sales of things with higher COGS, it like gets your gross up, your ticket average up, but maybe raises the COGS as well.
Yep.
It's true. Yeah.
Something to be aware.
That's where you have to balance. Like But that makes you ask the question, like, would you rather sell a $5 product with 10% COGS, so you're making like $4 and some change, or would you rather sell a $1 million product with
10%.
with 90% COGS?
Yeah.
You know? So the more expensive the per unit price gets, kind of the better. And that's where, even with our wholesale stuff, like our wholesale program, we've always tried to scale our, like when we've had to do price increases on our coffee because of the coffee market, I always look at the like profit, the pure profit number per box that people are going to make. And I try, whenever we have to raise our prices and for our wholesale partners and direct to consumer, to scale it to where even though we're raising prices, our wholesale partners are making more money on the percentage. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it helps them. And that's why we try to communicate like our suggested retail prices and whatnot. Yeah. So
MSRP.
Yeah. Okay. So that was Alpharetta, 38.51% COGS. Dunwoody, 38.99% COGS. Yeah.
It's crazy.
But then if you segment down, it's like coffee, exact same COGS percentage, 27.32%.
Holy crap.
Isn't that crazy?
You sure that's right?
Hey, one of our service philosophies, consistency is everything. I'm glad everybody's using an ounce of lavender vanilla in the iced latte.
I mean, you could go into that just a little bit. Like, what are the things when you hear those numbers that contributes to the exact same? That doesn't happen by accident. That doesn't happen by just putting someone in charge and being like, just go make great coffee. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is kind of crazy because there's definitely like room. I just think about all the nuanced situations of like someone ordered the drink wrong and we just remake it for them because we're like nice.
So are you surprised
that it's the same?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess.
Well,
I mean,
it's
kind of freaky.
Is that the 100th%?
I like clicked on it like 3 times. I was like, "Are you sure?"
But
I mean, basic things would.
Oh,
like
I'm sorry, it wasn't exactly the same. Alpharetta is 27.23 and Dunwoody was 27.32.
I see.
Okay, well, still.
That's still pretty dang close.
Well, it makes sense that they would have a slightly higher. I don't know how much it's weighted, but like if they're selling more retail and more food, those are items with higher.
Well, this is just coffee and tea.
I'm sorry, when you were saying the 38 number.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Because
that half
totally.
percent. Yeah. I'm wondering how much that it's shifted, especially if the coffee is the same, you know?
I want to pivot here and tell an interesting philosophy about this as we're talking about like, do you want to have better COGS or like better per unit dollar profit? There's been some times recently where I've seen in tracking our Shopify sales where this is for our roastery, like anything purchased online. I saw like our sales were down 3% like this week compared to last. And I was like, oh, that sucks. You know, you always want to be like growing. But our orders were up and our conversion rate was up and our like online website sessions were up. So what that told me is that like our average order value was down, which means if our average order value is down, that means we did more e-commerce, which means that the profit margin was better. So it's like our sales fell because it seems like we had like maybe like a few wholesale accounts that didn't order or something, but we sold more coffee, so we made more bottom line profit. It's like
we sold less coffee.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
There's in wholesale, you're charging a middleman price.
Yep.
And then the end, it's not even to the end consumer yet. You sell it to a coffee shop, they mark it up, and then it gets to the end consumer. But e-com is we're just selling directly to someone's home, right, from our roastery.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So all that to say, it's like these percentages are a great, frame. But like what you were saying, whenever the very static opinion of hit 33% COGS is so narrow-minded in the sense that like different products are so variably different.
Right.
And these percentages go across like all of business. It's like these things are to be used as like a frame of reference or maybe an average. But when you, I think about it with ads as well. It's like people want like a certain cost to acquire a customer to lifetime value ratio whenever they run ads. So if your CAC to LTV was 1 to 4, or like let's say like your CAC to LTV if you're doing $1,000 of ads a month is 1 to 10. Would you rather have that CAC to LTV, like because you're only running $1,000 ads, so you're only getting so many clicks, you're getting like a smaller pool, or would you rather your CAC to LTV be lower, but but like you're spending $100,000, so you're getting like a way bigger pool, and so you're therefore making more money. So anyways, I'm just saying like the more you grow, the more you see that like if your percentages taper down, but the like per unit price is bigger, it's like it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, you're pointing that out to show the different types of products that we sell in our cafe, right?
Yes, exactly.
Like, and that's one of the reasons why. I mean, the cost to acquire customer in your cafe is different than an e-com business.
Yes.
You know, because e-com, like you run an ad or you have SEO or you pay an agency or something, or you pay a salesperson, whatever. But in your cafe, it's your CAC is kind of like buying the wooden table to display your retail boxes. Like you're just improving the actual experience, the ease that the guest has in your space, increasing your average ticket, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So a perfect example is like a drip brewer. Like if you buy a drip brewer from Fellow or Bonavita or whatever, that drip brewer is going to be like you're not getting a big discount on the top line for wholesale pricing. So like let's say they give you like a 30% discount on the top line, or even like 20.
Like we buy it to sell it.
Exactly. Like we buy it at wholesale. The wholesale discount is like 30% off, basically. And then you pay shipping for it. So it's like you get it here, and it's like, okay, your COGS for that unit is like 75%. But you sell it and you make like $50, you know? It's like that's $50 more than you had before. Where things get hairy is like cash flow and like how much those orders cost and like to stock that inventory.
Yeah.
Because that's where you could make the point that it's like it's not worth it. But anyways.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure we've thought about this often, but in retail it's like, why, should we just sell more stuff? Or it's like, we sell some higher ticket items, like, we'll just sell like these nice candles or some nice like perfume oil. But I don't know, there's something to knowing your niche as well.
Well, this is back to the retail box display example. We only want to sell more stuff if we have space for it to position it in a way that someone would buy it. Like just having, we've had that Bonavita brewer on the top shelf at Alpharetta or maybe it's gone now, but we had it for years.
Somehow there's still one there.
So
like
it's
I took it.
It's like, okay, we sell an expensive item, but people probably don't even think it's for sale. It's just, they probably think it's our backup coffee brewer. Yeah.
Which is not a bad idea.
Yeah. So even if you do sell more stuff that's higher ticket, if you don't have a beautiful place to store it so that a customer can look at it very easily and be enticed to buy it, then there's no point.
Now, Ryan, tell me about waste. Do you have any data on that?
Well, that's what I said. I don't have waste data. That's going to be
he said that.
Second
Waste,
half of the year. You remember when I said that?
But quote unquote waste.
Grayson cut this,
Waste would be a part of that 38% then.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like true COGS might be 35.
Yes.
33.
Exactly.
And you frame it that way, meaning separating out the percentage of waste versus true COGS, just to be like, we can decrease this waste percentage.
Exactly. Yeah. And then that's again where you start figuring out like how low can you go with your waste by training and just like conscious effort. And then you find that, and then you're like, okay, these are the metrics we need to hit. And then you get to make a framework for like, no matter who is working this job ever in the future, it's like, this is the metric that we want to hit. And this is like, we need to get people trained to this point to hit this metric, because like, it's going to make our business run better. Because, 3% doesn't sound like a lot, but 3% of $1 million a year is $30,000. So if you're, especially if you're a single owner, it's like, that is $30,000 of bottom line profit that you're missing out on.
It's huge.
Yeah, and that's not just for your pocket, but it could be working capital,
Yeah.
loan paybacks.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want with it. Buy a speedboat.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could get a speedboat.
Dude,
And it
tubing.
it all what else what other good things come from one of the biggest projects you guys have? It's like one of the most expensive projects we've ever done in terms of paying the amount of time paying you guys and paying Claire to focus on the, I know we've said it some, but on the KPIs side of things, if you have 2 locations, or if you just have one and you are paying a GM to run that location, having a list of key performance indicators that help them have something to strive towards, so that they can know, like, am I doing a good job? There's like the soft skill side of that job, of course, but like, there's very objective ways to determine if the leader of that cafe is doing a good job, if their whole job is to help their team perform at the highest level they can and have a healthy operation. If the waste percentage is over this certain number, then that would be an indicator of something they need to work on. But there's a lot of work that goes into being able to even have that number.
How would someone that isn't doing any of this figure out their COGS? Like if I just was a single owner and I got on my Square reports, like how much money we made, like how do I, because this is a lot of work to try to get a true number. And that's probably the benefit that you're saying and asking is like, anytime we're faced with these big decisions in our company, having true financial clarity is such a guide,
Yeah. And that's the funny thing about setting something like this up, is that you like take a step back before you take a step forward.
Right.
So we've been relatively blind as we've set this up, because we just completely changed the system. So it's like, before we were booking things straight to COGS, so at least we had some sort of number on the P&L.
Mm-hmm.
But we developed this new system, which has taken months to like get dialed in. So we just like haven't been able to look at our cafe P&L reliably for 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
Which has been bad. It's not good. It's not good.
Well, doesn't it all start with receipt tracking?
Yes, definitely that. Or really before that, even if you wanted a true COGS number, it would start with inventory tracking. So it's just like, get a spreadsheet, get your inventory, like every single item and the cost per unit of every item, and then count every unit. Do that at the beginning of the month, and then find what was added to it, and then do that at the end of the month. Where things are so hard, and where Market Man prices themselves at as expensive as they do, is the cost weighting of the items. It's like, and that's where I have like basically a homemade version of Market Man for the roastery, and that's where my numbers often get off, is that if the cost of something changes, then you have to like find that thing and update it.
Oof.
And Market Man does that automatically by the invoice that you enter. So,
and it's synced with Square, so it can do that from your items as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then it like updates your item cost. So if we had the time for it, we could drill down and talk about the cost of every item.
Don't tempt us.
Don't tempt us to the drill down.
Well, and then you're like, if you're doing that, then you get into the marketing thing of like, okay, if your COGS are high, what do? You look at your best performing product in terms of COGS percentage and you push it. which is a funny thing. It's like
Americanos, baby.
if you see that, like, or it's like, you're not making enough top line, and like what item makes the most per unit in terms of a dollar number.
Right.
It's like, okay, it's the latte. I'm going to push the latte. It's a funny thing, but it's an easier thing to say whenever you're talking about like a website where you could just be like, I'm going to make banners and like a hero image of my
latte.
My latte.
Well, you don't see Starbucks pushing their cappuccino.
Yeah.
You see them pushing their refresher or like some drink
Mocha
that's
Joca.
probably like $6 or $7.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all interesting.
So start with taking inventory.
Start with taking inventory. Again, like I said, the hardest thing, even now, it's like I'm sitting here right now and our costs on our website of our roasting items isn't completely up to date, and it causes numbers to be out of balance. That's one of the hardest things about this job for me is like who does that? Because it's time consuming.
Now,
It's like almost a full-time job.
Yeah.
If you wanted to keep things like really live up to date.
Do you have any quick numbers on labor since we're already like building out
I do. Yes.
We set our top line.
Is the last thing I wanted to talk about. Our labor percentage that's another thing we started doing differently. We used to just track labor and like on our P&L it was in the operating costs, but we started to really segment how people clock in to like on bar versus off bar time. And then also just like, team meetings, health checks, like that type of stuff is all. So on bar time is cost of goods sold labor. Off bar time is operational labor. So we segmented those two things out. That's again where we're saying things like your labor should be 33% or 30% or whatever. People saying that. That's not how we look at things anymore because we have two different types of labor. So we're going to set metrics for these different types of labor that we're trying to hit. Alpharetta.
It's cost of goods labor because the labor involved with that is directly and exclusively tied to making a good.
Exactly. Yeah. They're making the thing that's going to leave the door. Yep. And we do the same thing in the roastery. Roasting, packaging, fulfillment, that's cost of goods labor. And then when you add your cost of goods sold and your cost of goods labor, you get what's called like your prime costs. And like that is a different number, targeted number than like saying 33% for COGS. Our cost of goods labor for both locations was basically dead even at 19% for the first 6 months. So then that's what we're talking about with looking at gross profit and coffee having a small pie after your costs. Not only is it that there was 38.5% of COGS.
Yeah.
Then you have to add another 19% to that. So you're at 57.
Yeah.
Almost 60% of your money is gone
towards making the product.
Towards just making the product. So you only have 40 and some change % after that to do everything else and pay yourself.
And yourself or pay the person or persons that are managing.
Exactly. Because that is operational. Like the admin work, that hasn't been paid yet. The rent hasn't been paid yet. The utilities haven't been paid yet.
Software. Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, because we talk about it, but oh my gosh, if we put our cafes together, we made $1 million this year. And that's up here. And then it's like, okay, well, 38% of that just went to COGS. Oh, and then now we got 20% to costs of labor. And so that chunk is smaller. And then we're climbing.
Yeah, they show all the little like bar charts in here. The one that's funny is like, so retail coffee, people probably won't be able to see this, but like the bottom is the COGS, the top is the gross. So like that top part is the only thing that you're actually taking away, Yeah. But like the number on the P&L looks like the whole thing.
Right. Okay, so we're a good chunk of the way there. Do you have any like
Yeah. So what I did in terms of research, again, I'm pretty new toward just like industry standards for the prime cost stuff. I saw a lot of coffee shops are doing around 60% in prime costs. So labor and COGS together.
Operational, cost of goods,
Yes.
labor.
Yeah. So that's 60%. We're at 57, 58.
Yeah.
I would still say we're on the high side. So it's like, I would love to be lower. I would love just overall for our cost of goods sold numbers to go down and for our labor numbers to continue to go up. Even it's like I would be fine with being there if we were able to just like continue driving our, like we talk about having pay bands. It's like I would much rather have everyone on our staff be at that upper end of the pay band because we're just going to be doing. I mean, really, it would probably keep the percentage the same because the excellence would just be so high.
Yeah, you're not like swapping out the best ingredients for worse ingredients just to get your costs lower.
Yeah.
But, and your highest paid person in the cafe, which is likely your GM, isn't like, dude, just think about if all your GM ever does is hire, you're just like spinning your wheels in the mud. You're like, it's so much harder to move forward if all you ever do is try to replace people that quit.
Yeah. I used to kind of think that was BS. Didn't you guys? Like
how
the whole like philosophy of how hiring is really expensive.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't understand the full all encompassing thing of it. It's like when people are saying that, they're not just talking about like it's paying a talent agency to hire someone.
Yeah.
It's like it's Ethan's time to interview, or like the GM's time to train. And then it's also like a low performing person behind the bar for a long time.
Yeah.
Versus if you would have just paid your people better in the first place, you would have a higher standard of excellence. They would be giving a better product and you'd be making more money and they'd be making more money.
And when someone new comes in, they're surrounded by excellence. And so that ramp up is really fast.
Yep.
That's what we've seen lately. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Well, so I guess you don't have it, but what I was going to ask is like, do you have any gauge on our operational expenses that like, okay, so we're at, 57 prime. Do you have any idea operational labor percent?
I mean,
We're not there yet.
We could dig into that, but it would probably just be recording over our limit.
We'll have to drill down a different time.
Okay.
I think that's what he's trying to say.
I can give you some baseline honesty that I just know from understanding the cash flow.
Speak from your heart.
Dunwoody's a lot bigger. It's got a lot more rent.
That's right.
It's got a lot more utilities. It has a GM, a head coach that isn't you.
That's right.
So it's like Alpharetta's bank account has certainly outpaced Dunwoody's bank account this year. But those are the types of things that you levers you can pull where it's like, okay, if you want to have a season of like very positive cash flow in one part of your business that you can then use towards whatever. For us, it was like our head coach in Alpharetta moved. So we're like, let's plug Ethan here and like make a little cash for a little while. Not saying that long-term was the best use of your time as far as like building the business. And like, we're probably stepping out of seasons where we do that often, maybe. But it is a thing you could do,
Yeah. We were chopping that up a lot last week of the owner's role, working on, working in. We're figuring out. It's not linear, guys. It's a journey. Okay.
Eastern Rivers 2025.
That's all I got.
Thanks for sharing and thanks for your transparency. I hope that it is helpful for our listeners.
Yeah, if you're still listening after all of that minutia, then
who's minutia?
Me and Ross, this segment, like me was like this, like telling you something. Me and Ross used to joke about this book that we were gonna write called "Let Me Tell You Something."
Yeah,
was
you,
it like?
Yeah, you used to always before you would start talking about something, you'd be like, "Let me tell you something."
It was "Let Me Tell You Something" with Ross Walters. Let me tell you something by Riley Westbrook featuring the Duns. Ross Walters.
As
Yeah.
Ross Walters.
Yeah. Ross Walters as the dunce. Yeah. The end.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Java. Drink some Java.